Hi there, welcome to today's broadcast. Today we're going to be talking about how and where you even begin to modify your child's diet to help reduce their symptoms from autism or ADHD. If this is your first time joining, my name is Tina Bishai. I'm the founder of Golden Healings, which is an alternative and holistic health practice where I see adults and children, both in person and for distant healings. And I provide energetic healings and shamanic healings for them. And really my love is to help children with autism and ADHD because I've seen such wonderful results in reducing and even eliminating their symptoms. And here at Golden Healings, I believe in treating our children in a holistic manner, so addressing their physical, emotional, and their energetic well-being as well. So before I begin, please let me know where you're listening from, what comments you have, any questions you have. I'd love to engage with you either on the live video or afterwards as well. So let's begin on today's topic. I know that this can be a difficult topic for many parents who are trying to help their kids with their symptoms from autism or ADHD. So I really want to invite you to consider what life could look like for you and for your child. Once you've determined that your child has any food intolerances, then you go ahead and make the necessary changes to their diet. So let me paint a really clear picture for you. Your child is more verbal and expressive. They connect easier with others. They aren't agitated or aggressive as they were before. And generally, they're in a better mood without as many behavioral outbursts. Any kind of skin rashes or eczema are a thing of the past. Tummy pain, gas, or bloating that they may have experienced is also gone. Your child is sleeping better and functioning better, and really you just are amazed at how much, what a difference it's made to them in the sense of their well-being. They're doing better, functioning better, and interacting really well with others. So I invite you to keep that in your mind as kind of a painted picture of what happens and what changes when you do address their diet. They really experience an ease of functioning, probably for them, that they may have never experienced before. And if you're thinking you've already dealt with food issues or intolerances for your child, please keep listening, because I thought I had done the same thing until something else came up. And I'm going to share that story a little bit later on in the broadcast. So where do we even begin? If you're a parent, this can be overwhelming, this topic, and so you're either in one of three categories. And before I go into those categories, just remember that the reason why we're talking about this at all is because 50 to 85% of kids who have symptoms from autism or autism spectrum disorder or ADHD have some sort of food intolerance or allergy, and so it's definitely worth looking at. Okay, so which category are you in? One, you don't know whether or not your child has any food intolerances. Or two, you may know or suspect they have some food intolerances, but you haven't made any changes yet. Or perhaps you're in category three, which is really that, you know what, you've had them tested and you've modified their diet and they're doing better. So I invite all of you to listen because I have suggestions for each of you depending on which category you're in. Let's start with the first one. So that's where you don't know whether your child has any food intolerances or not. Okay, you really have two options to get started. One, you can do the work yourself just by simply using a meal tracker where you're tracking what your child eats every day for a week, basically, and recording their symptoms after they eat. So for them, whether it's outbursts or behavioral issues or aggression or skin rashes or whatever it is, you're noticing their mood and a number of other things that go along with it. And if you want that meal tracker, I will post it online in the comments after this broadcast. Or if you want it done more precisely, you can take them to see an allergist or a naturopath or a GI specialist, or even a place that does energy-based testing for allergy intolerances. And regardless of which method you choose, you might even be thinking, well, how on earth are you going to change your child's diet because they're so picky about their food in the first place? Well, you can either go cold turkey, which is what I did, and I really loved the results. I basically changed all my daughter's food to gluten-free in one day, and because she had GI issues for a few months, stomach pain, bloating, diarrhea, and the very first day that I started her on the diet, it all went away. And she didn't complain of any of that anymore. So that's a possibility. And then, you know, I've shared with you in another video that I thought that was the end of it because my daughter was already on a lactose-free diet, and then she is on a gluten-free diet, and I thought we were doing great. We had addressed the food issue. Until there was a time where, you know, she wasn't so well again, and there were symptoms that were coming up for her, and I felt it was really to do with the food sensitivities again. She ended up having some challenging behaviors. She had bumps on her stomach and between her toes, and she was complaining a lot about being really, really tired. And those symptoms had popped up over a few months, and the fatigue had really been getting worse. So I decided to get her tested more formally, and I received a list of foods for her that she was severely intolerant to and moderately intolerant to, and then I changed her diet again. And was I ever glad that I did? She had huge improvements in her skin, her behavior, and no more complaints of being tired. And really, it happened within days. I noticed a distinct difference. So if you don't want to go cold turkey, another way is just to eliminate things little by little, which I imagine would take a bit longer for you to see the symptom relief, but is also a very viable method in changing your child's diet. I actually heard of one mom who all her child would eat was French fries, not the healthiest meal, but he was such a picky eater that that's all she could get into him. And so what she started doing was to add more protein to his diet. She started shredding little pieces of chicken on his fries and presenting him the plate when he was eating. And basically, you know, he would separate the chicken out and put them off to the side and would just eat the French fries for a few days. But she kept presenting it to him each and every day for a week. And by the end of the week, he started eating the chicken. So it takes a little bit of perseverance and determination on our part, and, you know, a little bit of just maybe routine on our child's part to eat something new. So I really encourage you to understand and really be aware that it's just progress. Small little things can make a huge difference. And no matter how small we think the change is, remember what that beautiful picture was that we talked about at the start of this broadcast of how your child could be and could function in this world. All right, so now if you are in the second category, which is you know or you think your child has some food intolerances because they're presenting with some of the symptoms you want to watch for, but you haven't changed their food yet. I'll remind you what those symptoms are. Any kind of dark circles under their eyes, fatigue, they're chewing or sucking on their fingers or their clothes or an object. They have behavioral issues like self-harm or aggression or hyperactivity, and perhaps they even have skin rashes or hair conditions, and they're a picky eater. But you just haven't started their switch in their diet yet. So this is the message that I have for you. Maybe you haven't started because you don't believe it fits your child, or you think they're already eating a well-balanced diet. They're not a super picky eater. But I really invite you to please be sure and get them tested by a health professional that can help you, or have some sort of energetic test for food intolerances done, because then you can be certain that your child doesn't have those food intolerances and you can carry on. And if you haven't changed your child's diet yet because you're absolutely overwhelmed at the thought of it, then just change one thing at a time. So for example, pick maybe one or two things that your child eats a lot of. Maybe it's bread and pasta as an example. And then change those things to gluten-free options, and see how your child does. Try it out for 2 or 3 weeks, and I guarantee that you'll see a difference very quickly if your child does have an intolerance to these foods. You can easily substitute rice milk for dairy if your child is eating dairy, and there are other vegan options for cheese that may work for your child as well. Of course, the other musts that you have to address are eliminating sugar, any kind of colored foods, and do your best to give them as natural foods as possible, so not processed foods. And honestly, if you can do this experiment for a few weeks, it might be the best choice that you've ever made for your child and in terms of their health and well-being. And for those of you that have managed to make some dietary changes for your child and have noticed a difference, congratulations. I honor you for doing that. And really, it is a big deal. And a congratulations is not said lightly. But please keep listening, because if you take my story as an example, when I thought I had done my part and my daughter was gluten and dairy free already, I thought that was it. But the thing is when I look at the timelines of what happened, I realized I could have helped her much, much sooner. So I'll just backtrack a little bit, but basically I knew she was lactose free from the time she was a few weeks old or a few months old, because aside from the breast milk that I was giving her, I was supplementing her with formula, and I think I may have tried 2 cans of formula before I said, forget it. There's no way this is good for her, because she would be up all night screaming in my arms. And as I was holding her face down, just kind of rocking her, trying to calm her, I could feel the bubbles going through her stomach. And I just knew she was having a reaction to what I had given her. So I changed her to the lactose-free formula, and she did fine. So that was when she was a baby. Then comes 3 and 4 years old, where she experienced those GI issues, the gas, bloating, diarrhea, pain, and I put her on the gluten-free diet. But then it wasn't until 2 years later that I noticed she was having some other issues, and then I decided to get her formally tested, with an alternative energetic method that a place here in Toronto used. And I had a whole list, and really my heart sank, because almost everything I was giving her every day was she had a severe or moderate intolerance to, and it was a food allergy. So, that aside from that, and then me changing her diet and made a huge difference, I just look back and think, wow, what if I had known that years ago, how much I could have helped her sooner. Okay, so I share this story with you so you don't wait years to address their dietary and their GI issues, but you are proactive with them. I've mentioned this before in another few videos about this topic, but it's also necessary to supplement your child's diet with vitamins and minerals that they are missing. And I know a lot of research shows about using probiotics or detoxing, and I'm still on that path, kind of researching what the best thing to do if she needs that for my daughter as well. And now that I've removed foods that she's intolerant to and continue to do this for a long enough period, it's allowing her GI tract, her intestines to heal, to be without the inflammation in her intestines. Then by supplementing and giving her the minerals and supplements or probiotics, that helps to nurture her body and helps her to heal. So regardless of where you are in your journey of food with your child and their symptoms of autism or ADHD, take heart. It's really not as hard as you think. And yes, your child may resist at first, but if they ultimately connect feeling better to eating certain foods, then they'll start to make those choices themselves. I've watched my 6-year-old daughter in the playground refuse candy or sweets from other children because she knows and she connects to the fact that that makes her feel not as well or not great after she has it. And yes, it's true. At her age, she doesn't like to feel different than other kids. But when she has control and the power to make those choices after being educated on which foods help her to feel better, it seems she'll often make those choices in the playground with her friends. And don't get me wrong, yes, she has those moments where she's just a child and she wants those sweets. And in those moments, sometimes I'll just brace myself for the behavioral change I know is coming. And then I just try my best to revert quickly back to the foods that I know she doesn't have an intolerance to until that time where we can completely heal her gut. So I've read a lot about healing guts and for children with autism and ADHD and done a lot of research. And I know that this can also include things like a heavy metal detox, probiotics, as well as supplying the nutritional supplements needed that your child is missing. So those are also all important. But, I'm telling you just from experience that making the switch to take away those foods that they're intolerant to just is life-changing, both for you as a parent and for your child who is dealing with these symptoms that they really don't need to be dealing with. So remember that each child is unique, but the path you're looking for is definitely improvement in their symptoms. And if you recall another video I had, the connection between brain health and gut health, right? That's why we spend so much time on healing our children's guts so that they can function well physically and emotionally with better brain health. Thanks so much for joining me today, and please join me next Thursday at noon for another broadcast where I'll be speaking to you about how you can support your child's emotional and energetic well-being. Bye for now.